All right, guys, before we jump into today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, I also publish content on Instagram on a daily basis. Give me a follow over there if you haven't already. It's at HGramNFL. The first 10 new followers I get after this video publishes will get a follow back. So don't waste time. Give me a follow right now. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. I thought we'd do something a little fun today. The Bears currently have 87 players on their 90-man roster, which easy math, 90 minus 87 is 3. Means they have 3 open roster spots. And so on today's show, I go through my perfect 3 additions to fill that roster spot. Those roster spots via free agency. So let's go ahead and dive into it here. First up, one we've mentioned a lot, just re-sign Marcedes Lewis. It just feels kind of like an obvious addition at this point in time. I really like what he brought to the table last year in the locker room. Cole Kmet has spoken extensively about things he's learned from him. And by the way, he could still play. I get it. He's going to be 40 years old this year, but he is still like a prototypical tight end 3 in the NFL. You could plug him in behind Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, go play 15 to 20 snaps per game, be that run blocking tight end. You know, occasionally could be a check down guy, whatever, and just be great in the locker room and fill out that tight end room. Because as much as I love Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, a couple of things. One, we know Shane Waldron likes multiple tight end sets, and 2, you don't really have guys after that. So like, if one of those guys goes down, or if you want to run some 13 personnel, I'm not sure you have a player that you feel comfortable doing that with after Kmet and Everett. Like, is Steven Carlson ready for that? I don't really know. I think it makes sense for both sides because if you're Marcedes Lewis, one, you know the guys, you've been around. The offense isn't going to be that different going from Getsy to Waldron. Hopefully it's just more effective. And 2, you have a clear role on this team. Like, how many places right now can Marcedes Lewis go to and be a real contributor both on and off the field for a team that actually has a chance to win? Sure, he could probably hatch on to Getsy again out in Vegas, but like, are they going to do anything this year? I don't think so. Is his boy Aaron Rodgers going to call him and ask him to sign with the Jets? Maybe, but like, other than that, the Bears seem like a good fit. They need him, and this team could actually be good if he wants to chase some playoff success. You look at how he graded out per PFF last year. Pretty damn good, right? 77 overall. Obviously, he only had 4 catches for 29 yards. The receiving grade's kind of whatever. But one of the better run-blocking tight ends in the NFL still at this point in his career. Did have the 1 touchdown as well. And remember this. If you're like, man, why is it taking so long? Why don't they sign him? Well, they signed him on August 4th last offseason. Like, at his age, you don't need him at OTAs. You don't need him at mandatory minicamp. You probably don't even need him at the start of training camp or even there for the Hall of Fame game. Sign him in late July, early August. You trust him to stay in shape. He has his own workout regimen that he does. And ramp him up the final month leading up to week 1. You're good to go. You can do exactly what you did last year. He was healthy last year. He was ready to go right away. I think that is a perfectly fine solution, and I would like to see it happen because I think he fills a clear void, and you'd feel pretty damn good about having him in that locker room. Should the Bears re-sign Marcedes Lewis? What do you guys think? Lewis to Chicago, type S for sign or P for pass. I'd like to see it. I still think there's a pretty good chance it happens. Hopefully it does. I'd be thrilled if this one happened. Sign Calais Campbell. We've talked about this guy a lot as well. We'll give some reasons why I think he'd be an excellent fit. But first, if you want to get a jersey, a Caleb Williams jersey, there's only one place to do it, chatsports.com/Caleb. That link is going to be in the comments and in the description of this video. Navies, whites, orange, back in stock to order. Go check those out. Chatsports.com/Caleb. Get yourself a Caleb Williams jersey before training camp. A way you can rep one out at Hallis Hall or at Soldier Field if you make a trip. One more time, it's chatsports.com/Caleb. Link is in the comments and in the description of this video. Let's talk Calais Campbell now. We've mentioned him a lot. You know, he's kind of this offseason Yannick Ngakoue. Obviously, Ngakoue could return, and I'd be fine with that. But Campbell's the one I'm pushing for because he's aged very nicely. He's going to be 38, but he was better last year than he's been in any of the prior 3 years for the Atlanta Falcons. And B, and I think this is where it's most significant for why I would take a look at Campbell when you look at what you currently have with this defensive line, you're kind of thin at both positions in terms of depth. Defensive tackle especially, like Dexter, Billings, and Pickens, we know they're all at least rotation players. Billings is a starting nose, we know that. Pickens and Dexter, there's questions about how good they can be, but they're at least rotation guys. They proved that last year. But after that, I'm not sure you have a guy you even would want to roster unless Keith Randolph does some things, the undrafted rookie. I'm fairly bullish on him. But then even at edge, too, like Montez Sweat, obviously is great, but after that, I like DeMarcus Walker. I'm high on Austin Booker's potential, but it's going to take him time. Dom Rob's been terrible. Jake Martin, this is pretty simple to me. Calais Campbell is still a good player. He offers value, kind of like Marcedes Lewis on and off the field, although a little bit more on the field than Lewis does. And it's two birds, one stone. He can give you snaps at edge and defensive tackle. He's been more of a 3-4 defensive lineman in recent years, so that would be a bit of an adjustment for him, but he's almost a 20-year vet at this point. Like, he knows what he's doing out there. He gives you snaps at both positions. You could kind of flex him and DeMarcus Walker. They can both kick inside and play outside. So I like that. I like the versatility. I think he could still be productive. He's proven that the last few years, and I think the fit would be very, very good. Subscribe to the channel if you want daily videos here on Chicago Bears Now. We're just over 500 subs away from 94,000. Closing in on 100K, that's the goal here. So help us out. Hit that subscribe button. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And if the Bears do sign Calais Campbell or any other player, trust me, we're going to hit you guys with the video. Lastly, it's Connor Williams. We talked about him on a mailbag episode the other day. This is an interesting one because this probably wouldn't be one I would do this second because, A, he is still recovering from that ACL surgery. I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't signed. He's waiting to get healthy. And B, I probably want to see how that Coleman, Shelton, Ryan Bates thing plays out early on here. OTAs, minicamp, maybe even into training camp. But I think there's a good chance he's not signed. Once training camps get here, you could see a preseason game or two go by as he's still recovering from that injury. But, man, this guy can play. His PFF grades last year, he was the number 2 graded center in the NFL. Even if you're like, PFF's a sham, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, he was still one of the better ones. Like, by any measurement you look at, like, Connor Williams can play ball. He just can. And he made that transition to center pretty nicely in Miami. The one thing is occasionally he'll have a bad snap, but not nearly as frequently as Lucas Patrick. Oh, and by the way, he can actually block. But beyond that, he gives you versatility as he can play center or guard. And he even played some tackle in college if you needed him in an absolute pinch to do that. Now, I ideally would not do that, but he could play any of the 3 interior positions. He could do it all at a starting level. He's a 6-year vet now, 77 career starts under his belt. Like, there's so many reasons this makes sense. Center is a question mark for you with Bates and Coleman. We don't know how that's going to play out. Both your guards are injury prone, and Nate Davis and Tevin Jenkins. I like them both, but chances are at least one's going to miss time. He's been a steady starter for 6 years. He can play both guard and center, and he's played in a similar scheme the past 2 years under Mike McDaniel. Like, there's more reasons to sign him than there are to not at this point in time. Now, he's not going to sign for a team that doesn't guarantee him a starting role probably, so that's why right now I probably wouldn't do it. But what if you wake up on August 10th and you're like, this center situation sucks, or Tevin Jenkins or Nate Davis is hurt again? Like, go get Connor Williams. He can play any of those positions on the offensive line. All right, call it now. Will the Bears make a notable signing before week 1? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't. In each of the past couple years they have. 2 years ago they added Riley Reif during training camp. Last year they added Marcedes Lewis and Yannick Ngakoue. And now, I think this year, still needing needs in the trenches, I expect them to do so again. So I'm going to type my wife for yes. You let me know what you guys think. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. We will be back soon with more videos, so subscribe and join us then.